Rodney, thank you for those words. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your friendship and for the loving, dedicated care with which you have steered this congregation during the entirety of your term, and most notably during these last few weeks when this work has been difficult and trying. You have risen to the occasion every time you've been called, and you've done it with joy and honor and purpose and integrity. I've been so grateful to be your partner and your friend. Well, friends, from the perspective of your senior rabbi and the senior leadership team of your congregation, I want to assure you that, as always, we remain focused on our primary mission, which is the task before us to serve as stewards of the moral and spiritual, intellectual, and cultural life of our city. And I want to remind you that at all times, the most important starting point of that work is the obligation that we have to care for the members of our congregation. And we're being called upon to do that work now under newly demanding and challenging circumstances. So I want to begin my report by just sharing a few words about our response to COVID-19 from the perspective of the senior staff and the clergy team. As all of us are well aware at this point, the first wave of our response to the pandemic has been to undertake some widespread and often very difficult cancellations and postponements. We have canceled worship, relocated worship from our sacred spaces to your clergy's homes. Life cycle events have been put on hold or postponed. Major programs that our departments, our auxiliaries, and our congregants look forward to with such excitement and enthusiasm each year have either been displaced, postponed, or canceled entirely. This has been a difficult time for all of us to look forward to and rely upon these programmatic and spiritual resources offered by our congregation. Nevertheless, your professional leadership has pivoted, as I knew they would, to do the best work we could possibly do under these circumstances, to offer worship and study and programming in new ways. Rodney mentioned already the more than 100 pieces of digital media that have been created, videos and songs, storytelling and sermons, music and arts and crafts that have been created for our congregation and those not affiliated with our congregation. We know that the digital content we've created is being consumed by people not only in Houston, but all across the country and even internationally as well. The members of our Becker and Helfman communities have benefited greatly from the creativity and the productivity of the faculty and staff who serve those constituents. And I want to personally thank all of you who joined us virtually for this year's unprecedented digital second night Seder. It was a joy to be able to share the festival with you and your families from our own dining rooms. The good news is that in some ways we were prepared for this shift in our work even before it was thrust upon us by the circumstances of disease. Our congregation's obligation at all times is to resist the forces of social disconnection. And of course, these forces were in play long before the coronavirus began. In fact, when I went back to look at my remarks from last year's annual meeting, at that time I celebrated the fact that Emanu is, and these were my words from that time, a place of human connection that militates against the trends toward isolation and loneliness that we see all around us. So this is at the core of what we do and what we've always done. We work to bring people into relationship with Jewish life and Jewish tradition, relationship with God, and maybe most importantly, into relationship with each other. That is the primary charge to which our clergy and staff team sets itself every day we come to work. We have realigned the pastoral care that we offer to our members in light of the pandemic and have pivoted toward those feeling the greatest impact during these difficult days. Some of you may have received phone calls from a core of dedicated volunteers who offered to reach out personally to members of our congregation Some of you bravely and generously volunteered to be those callers. We began with a list of 200 members of our congregation, those that we felt were in the most potential to feel isolated and vulnerable. After the completion of that first batch of 200 calls, we collected a list of 200 more calls, which will be made in the days ahead. I want to thank all of our volunteer callers, members of our board of trustees, directors of our endowment fund, and other lay leaders who stepped forward to offer a human touch to reach out to members of our congregation who we can't see face to face anymore. These calls have helped the clergy and senior staff identify the members of our congregation, our community, who are in need of material assistance, and we are well positioned to begin dispersing material aid to those right away. But secondarily, and maybe primarily, those calls have also been important to offer a human touch at a time when all of us are feeling more alone than ever. The question on everyone's mind these days is, when will the temple be reopening? When will we be together again to celebrate in person? When will our sacred spaces again host times of celebration, life cycles, mourning, and comfort? And the answer is still, we don't yet know. Our congregation continues to work in alignment with our denomination, the leadership from the Union for Reform Judaism, the good minds of the leadership of the Houston Rabbinic Association and other faith organizations in town, and we continue to take our guidance from our elected officials and the public health authorities. And as soon as the time is right, we will again reopen and welcome you back through the open doors of our temple. While we're talking about the difficult challenges that have faced us as a community, I need to pause now and make special mention of one particular bright light that has gone out in our congregation. I want to offer my most profound personal condolences to Rabbi Walter on the death of his wife, Linda. Linda's memory remains an extraordinary and enduring blessing in our temple family, but far beyond it as well. She was an extraordinary, exceptional, loving, generous presence. She will be missed so deeply by all of us, and we hope that our consolation and our comfort will make its way to Rabbi Walter's heart today and in the days ahead. I'm so delighted that the leadership of our congregation moved swiftly to rename one of our endowment funds in Linda's memory. And I want to invite and encourage those of you that are considering charitable donations in Linda's memory to make a gift to the newly renamed Rabbi Roy and Linda Walter Enrichment Fund. Even during the times of our difficulty, there is good news to share as well. Rodney shared with you already the good news of the renewal of the agreements that we have with Cantor Simmons and Rabbi Fixler. I am overjoyed that our extraordinary clergy team will be able to continue working together for several more years alongside the professional staff that performs at such a high level every day, and for which I am incalculably grateful every day I come to work. I also want to share my thanks and add them to Rodney's, to Barbara Loser for having stepped forward to serve as the interim director of our Becker School. I will also share with you that we've already begun forming a search committee that will help us identify an outstanding early childhood educator to lead the Becker School into the next phase of its life. This year has been a year of complicated celebration as we have rejoiced over the 75th anniversary of our congregation's life. I am excited and optimistic about the next 75 years of its life that we will share together. And so as I close, I want to once again offer my deep thanks to Rodney Roth for his leadership and for his enthusiasm and excitement, for his loving, generous heart, and for his open spirit, which has remained available to me and to our congregation's entire leadership during the term of his presidency. I cannot imagine a better leader to have served during these days of our congregation's history, which were at times celebratory and at times challenging and difficult. Rodney, I'm so grateful for your friendship. I'm so grateful for your passion and your leadership. You have made an indelible mark on the history of this congregation, and you and all of those who love you deserve to be very, very proud. And so, speaking of leadership, we are now positioned to welcome a new slate of leaders and welcome a new set of opportunities. I'm very grateful for the board and all of the members of our congregation's committees who have served faithfully this year in conscientious and responsible, loving and generous ways. And today I am excited to know that you, the members of our congregation, will elect a new group of leaders to join them, to take their place in leading our holy congregation and moving successfully from strength to strength.